Pittsburgh Steelers take care of business. Hey, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's close. It doesn't matter if Cairo Santos missed the field goal just by this much. Well, based off of one angle, it looked like he hit the top of the crossbar. But looking at another angle, it's like, oh man, he hit the top of the crossbar. And then the other angle, no, he actually was not very close in making that. But hey, that's okay. The Chicago Bears were in it. They were in it. They actually proved a lot of people wrong. Justin Fields, there's a lot of promise with Justin Fields after the last two games. One against the 49ers, once against the Steelers. Came out a little bit short against the Pittsburgh Steelers on Monday Night Football. That's okay. Still showed a lot of promise. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a brand new episode of Time2Football. My name is Hassan Khan, the host of this channel. We like to call it Time2Football. Glad you guys are joining us on this Tuesday as we turn the page on Week 9. We're officially at the halfway point of the 2021 regular season. And now we look forward, we look ahead to Week 10 of the 2021 NFL season. A lot to uncover here. If you're subscribed to this channel, you already know that we came out with our ads and drops videos a little bit early. I was a little bit ahead of the game, so I was like, you know what, why not? Why not just put this out Tuesday morning? Just get it out of the way so I can spend the rest of the time just really talking about ads and drops and giving you guys a little bit more in-depth explanation on all the ads and drops on this week's show. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to show you the video, just kind of skim through it, and then show you the ads and drops and kind of talk about it. But yeah, that Monday Night Football game, that was wild. Pat Freiermuth, we've been talking about him being an ad right after that game against the Seattle Seahawks. So prior to the bye week, we were like, Freiermuth. That was the only, when I saw that game, I was like, yeah, he's going to be a legitimate tight end one in the NFL. So I hope you guys added him. I know that he's only owned in like 32% of leagues, and I hope that you're one of those guys that owns him. As a matter of fact, I have Mark Andrews on my team, but I still added Pat Freiermuth as a backup, and I'm not going to drop him at all because, I mean, he's either trade bait, number one, or if anything happens to Mark Andrews, then I would have a good handcuff in Freiermuth. Good morning, Makana. Makana, how you doing? Thank you for joining us. Hey, by the way, those Pittsburgh Steelers, great win, but I don't know if you guys saw the stat or not, but I tweeted this out. So if you don't follow me on Twitter, there's two Twitter accounts. There's one at Time2Football. You can follow that, or you can follow at It's Hassan Khan. And I just tweet whatever random NFL stuff. I try to be funny on Twitter, but you know, that's your priority to judge. You're the one that determines it. But anyways, I saw the stat and I was like, I have to tweet this out because this is getting way too out of hand. Way too out of hand. Let me actually pull this up. All right. So I tweeted out, all right, these stats are getting way out of hand. Ben Roethlisberger, 4-0, has never lost on Monday Night Football following a daylight savings time Sunday. 2005, 2007, 2008, 2010. Hey, now he's 5-0. 5-0 following daylight saving times on Monday. Hey guys, this is ridiculous. Who does this research? Why is this information that we need to know? Hey guys, did you know that Jerry Rice has never lost a game whenever he goes to sleep at midnight and wakes up 7 a.m. prior to a game? Hey guys, did you know that Saquon Barkley, whenever there's a rash on his elbow, he's actually 1-2 in those games? Hey guys, when Bill Belichick wears a red hoodie, he loses a Super Bowl. That's actually a legitimate stat, and he's never brought back the red hoodie. You get what I'm saying? Like these stats are way too out of hand, man. So I started a hashtag Stop NFL Statisticians. They're reaching at this point now. They're reaching because the NFL's just been going on for so long that they're like, hey, Jamar Chase is the first rookie to have 750 yards and 7+ touchdowns at under the age of 23, playing for the Cincinnati. You know, like it's just way too much that goes into it. It's just wordy description, the stat. They try to make it like the first everything for everything. I'm like, dude, guys, let's calm down on that. So stop NFL statisticians. That needs to be a thing. That needs to be a thing. NFL news and notes that has been going around the league as of today, Tuesday, November 9th. Let's actually talk about the news first before we talk about the fantasy football ads and drops. All right, so big news that we actually learned just from signing off of yesterday's news, I saw Russell Wilson tweet a video out on Twitter, and I was like, "What is this? What is the meaning behind this video?" And it was just like a little old school video of him going through like doctor visits, taking the pin out of his finger and stuff like that. He is good to go this Sunday against the Green Bay Packers. Russell Wilson is officially back. Danger Russ, like what they like to call him, is back. He's going to be playing for the Seattle Seahawks against the Green Bay Packers. He's got the clearance from his doctor. He's good to go. Damon Arnett, so first round defensive back of the Las Vegas Raiders, was drafted last year in 2020. Excuse me. He was released because of a video that appeared last week of him flashing some weapons and verbally threatening someone. And he was released of his contract because he also, on top of that, in the last month, he crashed 4 rental cars. So, maybe it's his fault, maybe it wasn't his fault. But, I mean, that's just kind of, it's a responsibility thing at that point. And Raiders were like, all right, we've dealt with so many things. We don't even want to get into this. Damon Arnett, you've been released. And also, the Raiders kind of are known for this when Mike Mayock came into being the general manager in 2019, that they overdraft for some players because they don't care about what other scouts or whoever's saying what about what player and when they should draft and when they should take them. They're like, hey, I'm going to take the best player available. That's what they've been doing. That's what they did with Cleveland Farrell with the 4th overall pick, passing up on guys like Josh Allen. Hey, did you know that Josh Allen sacked Josh Allen? Hey, Josh Allen also intercepted Josh Allen. In case you didn't hear, because it wasn't shoved down your throat. Hey, Josh Allen had a fumble recovery against Josh Allen as well. Because I know for a fact that NFL Red Zone, CBS, NBC, Fox, all of them did not cover that. Did not say that at all. No one said that at all. Josh Allen. Hey, did you know, if we're talking about things that people talk about a lot, hey, did you know that Najee Harris was homeless? Hey, did you know that Darren Waller overcame a drug addiction? I mean, it's cool stories. Like, it really is. And I'm, like, happy for the guys, like, the great people, whatever. But, like, at some point, it's like they just keep on going on and on for, like, 5 minutes talking about, I'm like, guys, come on. Like, why are you talking about the lows of a player right now when he just scored a freaking touchdown for the Pittsburgh Steelers? Like, let's talk about the game. Let's talk about the game. Anyways, I just went down a rabbit hole. But, yeah, Damon Arnett. The Raiders just overdraft for these players. Alex Leatherwood is another guy that people thought was a second-round talent. But they drafted him in the first round to be on the offensive line for Derek Carr. They overdrafted these people. Damon Arnett was one of those people that a lot of people didn't have on their first-round draft board last year in 2020. He's been released, didn't live up to any expectations of a first-round talent, let alone being a feasible defensive back for the Raiders. So they're just like, all right, at this point, it's okay. We can release him. It's not been looking good for some of the first-round picks for in 2020. 2020 first-round picks for the Raiders. Not good. Not good at all. Chase Edmonds. So he has officially been diagnosed with a high ankle sprain. He will miss a total of 3 to 4 games. 3 to 4 games. This is the timetable that was given by Ian Rappaport. That's what he's reporting. Now, there was another report that said that he's going to miss multiple weeks. Ian Rappaport kind of clarified that it's going to be 3 to 4 games. It's a high ankle sprain as opposed to a low ankle sprain, which Trevor Lawrence is dealing with right now. He suffered that injury in last week's victory against the Buffalo Bills, where Josh Allen sacked Josh Allen. And he's going to be limited in practice this week. He continued to play throughout the whole entire game. So I think it's just more of like a maintenance thing. I don't think he's going to miss any time. Trevor Lawrence should be good to go this week against the Indianapolis Colts. Royce Freeman, Carolina Panthers running back, has officially been released, and that is good signs for you guys that have a lot of stock in Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey is back. He's healthy. He's going to have his full workload. And also Amir Abdullah as well has pretty much outsnapped him and outplayed him to win that role as the third down back behind Chuba Hubbard. So it's Royce Freeman is just the odd man out. Nick Boyle, the Baltimore Ravens tight end that the Ravens really love. He's been activated off of IR, so he should be making his return. Mark Andrews had a little bit of a scare in that overtime victory for the Baltimore Ravens. He was hurt, was out for a few plays, but he was back in. So the man that was taken in his place was Eric Tomlinson, tight end. He also played for the New York Jets in the past. And now it seems like if anything were to happen to Mark Andrews, they'd be fine with Nick Boyle. Corey Davis, hip injury. He's expected to be back in Week 10 per Robert Saleh, the head coach. DeAndre Hopkins has been labeled as a day-to-day injury by Cliff Kingsbury. So he's dealing with that hamstring. Did not practice on Wednesday, did not practice on Thursday. Was eventually held out in that game against the San Francisco 49ers. And now there is some hope with him being day-to-day as opposed to week-to-week, which Kyler Murray was initially week-to-week. But speaking of Kyler Murray's Week 10 status is unknown, though. So that is a little bit of a blow. We don't know if he's going to be back or not. Keep that in mind. DeAndre Hopkins has a little bit more optimism than Kyler Murray. Zach Wilson, per Robert Saleh, will not be rushed back into the starting lineup. Hey, this makes a lot of sense. They had a lot of good playing from Josh Johnson, from Mike White. There's no need to rush him back. Rookie quarterback, it's okay. Like, you've already, I don't want to say your season's over because you're, like, performing kind of well. Like, you upset the Tennessee Titans and the Cincinnati Bengals, and you had almost a little bit of a comeback against the Indianapolis Colts. So I don't want to say their season is over. That, like, they're still competitive, but they're not rushing to get anyone back just because Josh Johnson and Mike White have been performing really well. Take your time, Zach Wilson. Michael Gallup is expected to play in Week 10, so he was almost going to be playing in Week 9. Mike McCarthy eventually just shut him down, and then Mike McCarthy this week said, okay, no doubt about it, Michael Gallup is going to be practicing fully ahead of their Week 10 matchup against the Atlanta Falcons. He will be making his return against Atlanta. Antonio Brown is still in a walking boot per Bruce Arians. Not good. I don't know how close he is to, because the last time we checked in was before the Week 9 bye that the Buccaneers had. He was on crutches. And we were like, all right, this is no doubt about it. He's going to miss this game. And now that he's in a walking boot, maybe it's a maintenance thing. I don't know. To get out of a walking boot and to get any sort of limited participation in practice and then be like, okay, I'm good to go on Sunday, that's going to be hard to do. So I think Antonio Brown more than likely is going to miss this week's game. Tua is uncertain for Thursday Night Football against the Baltimore Ravens. So he acted as the emergency quarterback for Jacoby Brissett in case they needed him. He was the number 2 guy. It seems like it's going to be the same kind of status this week. Jacoby Brissett is going to get the start. Tua is probably going to work in as the number 2 backup. Mike McGlinchey, the very talented first-round offensive lineman for the San Francisco 49ers from a couple years ago, he tore his quad, and now he is out for the remainder of the season. That is a big blow to the San Francisco 49ers offensive line, as well as Matt Paradis, the Carolina Panthers offensive lineman, center, very talented. He was signed in free agency, one of the more high-end free agents coming from Denver. He was signed in free agency, and he did not. He's going to miss the remainder of the season. But speaking of good news for an offensive lineman, Wyatt Teller signs a 4-year contract extension for the Cleveland Browns. Very talented, very underrated. He signs that extension. And then the last little bit of news, Chris Blewett, an unfortunate last name for a kicker, was unfortunately released by the Washington football team, and Joey Sly has been signed. So that is your NFL news and notes for today, Tuesday, November 9th. Okay, now we're going to get into ads and drops. We kind of give you a little bit of a preview usually, but I was a little bit ahead of the game, so I went ahead and got the ads and drops videos out. So if you haven't had a chance to look at that, go to our channel, look up the ads and drops. It's the most recent video that we uploaded. Watch that, then get your fix in for fantasy football. But what I'm going to do in this video right now is I'm just going to go through quickly because sometimes I don't give like too much in-depth of an explanation on these ads and drops. So I'm just going to go through and I'm just going to talk through it and give you my explanation on why some of these players are ads or drops. All right, so let me go ahead and switch this over to my computer. And this is legit, the video, so I'm just going to scrub through it. Let me put myself in the corner down here. All right, let's go. Let's talk about this. All right, so we got Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan, Teddy Bridgewater as must-ads. They've just been looking good. And, I mean, I try to put players that are around 50%. If they're a little bit over 50% owned, then that's okay. But, like, no more than, like, 55, 60%, I'm not putting those as must-ads. But like Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan, they're owned in a lot of leagues, but they're still out there. Teddy Bridgewater as well. I would even put Justin Fields on there. Honestly, like I'd made this list prior to the Monday Night Football game. I saw how he performed against the tough Pittsburgh Steelers defense, and he actually did not look that bad. I think he had 17 fantasy points or so. So Justin Fields would be someone that I would consider as an ad. Jimmy Garoppolo, he's just been looking good, and he's got some pretty good matchups coming towards the end of the season, the fantasy football playoffs. So he's someone you may want to consider. But also talking about the must drops, I mean, I put Ben Roethlisberger and Baker Mayfield on these lists so often just because I don't know why Baker Mayfield is just owned in so many leagues, 33% of leagues, and he's been on my must drop list since like week one. Guys, Baker Mayfield is not going to work out as a fantasy football stud. Jordan Love, that's pretty obvious because Aaron Rodgers is going to be coming back. Then we've got Trevor Lawrence as our drop of the week. At one point, I actually had him as an ad of the week not too long ago, and then it just kind of shifted to where, all right, now he's got some tough matchups coming up. You're okay with dropping Trevor Lawrence. Running backs, Jordan Howard, obviously, like, I don't know. I don't know the Philadelphia Eagles situation. I don't know who's going to be the running back one. I think it's the hot hand, and the hot hand right now is Jordan Howard. Latavius Murray, it's a short turnaround this week, so I don't think he's going to be playing. I think Devontae Freeman will be that guy that steps in, but Latavius Murray, actually, he was not available on Monday's practice estimation, so that kind of gives you a little bit of a sign if he's going to be available for Thursday or not, which he's not. Mark Ingram is getting a lot of work. The Patriots running back. So I kind of was like, all right, I don't know the status of any of these because Bill Belichick, the Patriots are kind of low-key with their injury reports. They don't want to say anything unless they have to. Ramondre Stevenson, J.J. Taylor, just monitor that status. Ramondre Stevenson would be the hot ad this week, but you got to keep in mind, like, if the head injury is pretty serious, you don't want to add someone that's going to be injured and then he's going to miss like two weeks or so. J.J. Taylor would be the guy that would be the next man up. Damian Williams, Trey Sermon, Carlos Hyde, yep, drops. Pretty self-explanatory. David Johnson, all right. I finally put him on the drop of the week just because he's just like Baker Mayfield is owned in 33% of leagues, and I still don't know why. Only one game where he had over 10 half PPR points, and it was 10.3 half PPR, and that was in week one. I don't understand how he's getting less touches with Mark Ingram now gone, but it's happening. It's happening. Like David Johnson is not benefiting from anything. He's a drop. Guys, let's get rid of him. Michael Gallup, hey, 50.1% of leagues. He's still out there. He's still available. Go get him. Go get him. Rashad Bateman, most targeted receiver next to or right behind Mark Andrews last week. So I like Rashad Bateman. And then Elijah Moore, obviously, he's having that stretch of great games, like 7 targets in one game. And then last week, I think it was like 7 or more targets, something like that. And then this week, he had a breakout 2 touchdown games. So Elijah Moore is someone that you should definitely look into. Brandon Ayuk, this is just worth the risk. Why not? Let's take the risk. Let's see what happens. Because he could be a wide receiver 1, maybe wide receiver 2. Just add him. See what happens. Drops Robbie Anderson, Henry Ruggs, Michael Thomas. Okay, so people are giving me crap. Like, why'd you put Henry Ruggs on this list? Well, he's freaking owned in 27% of leagues. I wouldn't put him on this list if it doesn't mean that, like, if he was only owned in like 20%, 15%, I'd be like, all right, people get the gist. Like, they're dropped. 27%, that's way too high. Why not just get rid of him? Get rid of him. He's not coming back this year. Same thing with Michael Thomas, 44%. Why aren't people paying attention? Is it because, like, people draft and then they just don't play fantasy football after that? They just forget about their team? Yeah, Michael Thomas is gone. He's gone, dude. Get rid of him. Jacoby Myers. All right. Don't buy into that little, hey, oh, man, Jacoby Myers, like, he could break out. No, it's not about the potential anymore. It's about who's been doing good, who's shown flashes of being good, and who hasn't. And if at any point, if a player has not put up any sort of legitimate, great fantasy football production, I know that in PPR leagues, maybe he had 2 games where he had 12 or 13 or 14 fantasy points. Cool. After that, dude, nah. Offense does not run through him anymore. It doesn't. He's not getting in the end zone. I would drop him. Tyler Conklin, Logan Thomas, Pat Fryermuth. Please pick him up. Please. I've been begging you guys for 3 weeks now. Please pick him up. Dan Arnold, saw the most targets by a tight end the last 2 games. Only T.J. Hawkinson has been the only tight end that has more. So he's going to be involved. Mo Alley Cox, Ricky Seals-Jones with Logan Thomas coming back. And Johnny Smith, pretty self-explanatory. Drop of the week, CJ Uzomah again for a second straight week. Self-explanatory. Touchdowns. I mean, you're just hoping on a touchdown from CJ Uzomah. Michael Badgley, Younghoe Koo, Randy Bullock. They have some pretty good matchups. All 3 of them have coming up, so I would consider them an ad. But then also Daniel Carlson. Listen, hey, he's still available. Pick him up. Oh, I have Jason Myers. Pick him up. No, you don't understand. I have Mason Crosby. He plays for the Green Bay Packers. Pick him up. It's my philosophy on kickers and defenses. I try to be so intricate with those things that it makes a huge difference in fantasy football. Pick up a kicker who's a top 5 fantasy kicker in Daniel Carlson. Jason Myers, just talked about Jason Sanders, Chase McLaughlin too. Mason Crosby, it's a must drop as well. Has been looking good the last 4 games. Dolphins, Ravens, and Browns. Dolphins, maybe not this week against the Ravens, but listen, plan your defenses 1 week in advance. Pick up the Miami Dolphins because they have the New York Jets coming up next week. And then, appreciate you, Brandon Gold, for following me on Twitter, by the way. Tennessee Titans, they've been looking great against the Kansas City Chiefs, against the LA Rams. Their defense is stepping it up. Consider the Tennessee Titans. And then the Cincinnati Bengals, the Bears, the Chiefs, the drops. And the drop of the week, the Green Bay Packers. They've been looking decent, but they're still owned at 28% of the leagues. I still think that's way too much for the Green Bay Packers. They got some bad matchups coming up. Vikings, Seahawks, Rams. It's not looking good for the Packers. So that's just a little bit of an explanation of the adds and drops. So, if you haven't watched that video, just go back, watch it, and get more knowledge on who to add and who to drop. All right. Fantasy football trade targets. We talk about this every Tuesday. Which players you should buy, sell, and hold in fantasy football. We're going to give you 1 buy, 1 sell, and 1 hold for each position, for quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends. And if you agree, disagree, whatever, just leave your comments down below. If you have any sort of questions as well on who you should trade for and things of that nature, leave your comments. I try my best to get to you guys. If I can't get to you guys in time, other people will get to you guys and help each other out. We're a community. Hey, we're 5 weeks away from the NFL or the fantasy football playoffs. Most of us are. Let's get things going. Time to get serious. Okay, quarterback buy. Patrick Mahomes. 3 straight games now of 13 or less points. But hey, he's a buy because I can guarantee you the Patrick Mahomes owner is very frustrated. He's looking to sell him. Patrick Mahomes is freaking Patrick Mahomes. When you have one of the speediest wide receivers in the NFL, and you have the best tight end in the NFL, got to use that to your disposal. Patrick Mahomes, as well as we know the talent behind him, he's a quarterback you got to buy. So buy in on Mahomes right now while his value is just extremely low. Sell Ryan Tannehill. Now, I don't know if anyone would want to buy Ryan Tannehill, but since the injury of Derrick Henry, his value has just gone down. Julio Jones coming back is a huge asset to him, but even against that LA Rams, there was no need for him to pass too much. They've been up by a significant margin most of the time during that game, but still, he saved his touchdown value, his fantasy value with that rushing touchdown. Ryan Tannehill did. So he scored 14 to 15 fantasy points, something around that. That might be good enough to sell him at that point. I don't think he's going to get anything. I mean, he might score that much moving forward, but it's going to be around that. Like, he's going to be capped up around that 15, 16-point value. So, yeah, Ryan Tannehill would be a player that I would sell just because it's not looking good without Derrick Henry. And then hold on to Jalen Hurts. I want to sell him. I really do. Just because when he had that string of like 20-plus fantasy points, I was like, eventually he's going to get benched by the Philadelphia Eagles just because he's not playing that well in real life. Fantasy football, he's amazing. And then he put up 11 points 1 week and then 16 points this past week against the Chargers. And it's like, what do we do now? What do we do? I'm saying hold. I'm willing to take the risk. Like, is it going to get benched for Gardner Minshew? I don't know. I really don't know. I think he is, but I wanted to sell him, but then I looked at his schedule. He's got some good matchups coming up, and then also during the fantasy football playoffs, he faces Washington, New York, and then Washington once again. Those are 3 matchups right there. If he plays, that he could be a top 10 fantasy quarterback in those matchups. So hold on to Jalen Hurts for now. Could be a sell later, but for now, let's hold on to him. Running backs, bye. We talked about him last week. I'm going to make him my running back bye again because people forgot about him. He was on the bye week. He had a little bit of a week to rest that fractured shin that he had, but Antonia Gibson. Okay, don't freak out. Don't freak out. Please listen to the explanation first before you freak out into the comments on this is a terrible buy. I'm not saying give up freaking Jonathan Taylor or Alvin Kamara or whoever for Antonia Gibson. Obviously not. You don't do that. But buy low. Like, would you want to sell someone like Myles Gaskin in a package for Antonia Gibson? Yeah, I'd do that. Hey, would you want to sell someone like oh man, who's been red hot right now? Maybe Marquez Callaway, who had a touchdown. Package him up with another running back like Latavius Murray. Hey, Latavius Murray is going to come back from an injury. Maybe not this week, but moving forward, he's going to be the Baltimore Ravens running back 1. Hey, do you want Latavius Murray and Marquez Callaway for Antonio Gibson? Oh, yeah, sure. You see what I'm saying? Like, buy low. Like, when I say buy low, like, buy low. So it's not a terrible buy. It's not. Because from weeks 12 to 17, leading up to the fantasy playoffs and actually in the fantasy playoffs, here's the schedule. Seattle, Las Vegas, Dallas, Philadelphia, Dallas, Philadelphia. 6 games right there. Where if his shin is actually healed during that bye week, could be a legitimate top 15 running back in those weeks. You want to put him, you need a good running back 2, you need a good flex play. Hey, buy low on Antonio Gibson. I'm not saying he's going to put up RB1 numbers like you guys drafted him to be, but buy low. Buy low. That's what I mean. So don't freak out in the comments. It's actually a good buy depending on who you trade. So, Antonio Gibson, running back buy. Running back sell, Myles Gaskin. So I just talked about him when you want to buy Antonio Gibson. Yeah, I'd sell him after his touchdown. Fantasy football number-wise, he has a good matchup coming up against the Baltimore Ravens. So, I mean, sure, if you want to keep him this week, but I'd sell him, man. It's nothing to do with Myles Gaskin and how talented he is. It's more to do with the offensive line of the Dolphins, the offense in general of the Dolphins, and that Malcolm Brown is set to return probably in the next couple of weeks or so. Is going to eat into the Myles Gaskin's carries. Gaskin is someone that I would sell at this point. While his value is extremely high with this 20-carry game and that 1 touchdown that he had, his value is extremely high. He actually he had numbers related to, like, have you ever played like superstar mode in Madden and you're like the wide receiver or you're like the quarterback, like anything but the running back, and the computer is the one that controls the running backs, and it's like you hand off the ball to the running back, okay, the computer's controlling him, and then he just like kind of, oh no, instead of running up the middle, goes to the side, and he only gets like -1 yards, 1 yard, whatever. Well, yeah, that was the stat line that Myles Gaskin had. He had 20 carries for 34 yards. That's such a Madden computer simulated running back game, if I've ever seen one. 20 carries for 34 yards. Like, that's so Madden. Anyways, yeah, sell Myles Gaskin. And hold on to Jeremy McNichols. I know it wasn't promising to see him get only like 5, 6 fantasy points. But out of McNichols, Deontay Foreman, Adrian Peterson, it was McNichols and Foreman that looked like the best. I know Adrian Peterson got in the end zone. They're going to continue to feed Peterson around the goal line. But McNichols, when the Titans are down, which is going to happen eventually, they're going to pass the ball to Jeremy McNichols, who was on passing downs, 2-minute warnings, a 2-minute offense, those kind of nature. So Jeremy McNichols is a player that I would hold. Wide receivers, buy DJ Moore. While his value is just extremely low right now, hasn't been looking good. Sam Darnold hasn't been looking good. The Panthers' offense hasn't been looking good. But we were forgetting that DJ Moore was Sam Darnold's favorite target the first half of the season so far. 7 targets in every game this season. That gives me a little bit of hope. DJ Moore is a player that I want to buy while his value is just extremely low. A player that you want to sell, Marquez Callaway. I have not been big on Marquez Callaway since the NFL or the fantasy football draft. I was like, why are you drafting Marquez Callaway when you could draft other wide receivers that are around the same ADP, like Michael Pittman, Darnell Mooney, maybe even? Like, those receivers I would take over Marquez Callaway. And this season so far, it's proven that Callaway hasn't been as consistent as people would hope him to be. So while he scored that touchdown, get rid of him. I think it's Deontay Harris who's the number one receiver right now for Trevor Siemian. That's his go-to man. He proved it in the last couple of games. So sell on Marquez Callaway and then hold Terry McLaurin. You're probably frustrated. Number one, I don't know if Ryan Fitzpatrick is ever going to come back this season. Maybe, maybe not. But number two, same thing with Antonia Gibson. Look at the schedule. Weeks 12 to 17. Seattle, Las Vegas, Dallas, Philadelphia, Dallas, and Philadelphia for Terry McLaurin. Those are 6 legitimate matchups that McLaurin could be a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 1. So Terry McLaurin is a player that I would hold. Tight ends, bye. Noah Fant. I think that if Noah Fant played in this game for the Dallas Cowboys or against the Dallas Cowboys, he would have taken the production away from like Tim Patrick, maybe even Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton, like taking the targets away from them. And he would have had a productive game as well. Maybe he would have gotten to the end zone. Unfortunately, he was out with COVID-19, but Vic Fangio says that he's more than likely going to get cleared tomorrow. So Noah Fant is a player that I would put my trust into. He's had 5 games so far with 7 or more targets this year. I'm buying into that. Like, he was a top 10 fantasy tight end before this COVID diagnosis. So, Noah Fant. So what I would buy into. Sell Hunter Henry. And now's the time. He's had a touchdown in 5 of his last 6 games. It's not sustainable with that Patriots offense. I know he's the red zone target for Mac Jones, but he's had 3 targets. He's averaging 3 targets a game in his last 4 games. So, 3 targets a game in his last 4 games. So, I get rid of that. The targets are not promising. Hunter Henry, someone I get rid of. And then hold Tyler Higbee. Last week gave me a little bit of promise for Tyler Higbee against the Tennessee Titans. Almost had a touchdown last week. It was called back, but he had 10 targets in that game. So maybe the Rams want to utilize him more. He's being thrown to in the end zone, as we saw. Like, there was another game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers earlier this season where they had like a little bit of a bubble screen on the 3-yard line to Tyler Higbee. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to get it in, but it gives me a little bit of promise that, okay, Higbee is a red zone threat. He's a monster. And what's different between Higbee and Hunter Henry is that Hunter Henry is a red zone threat, but he's not getting the targets. Higbee is a red zone threat, but he's getting the targets, not the touchdowns. But I think eventually I would go with the targets as opposed to the touchdowns because I think eventually it's going to come around. Higbee is going to get to the end zone, so don't worry about that. But those are some players that you want to buy, sell, and hold in fantasy football. If you have any more that you want to comment, leave a comment down below, and let me know your thoughts and your opinions. All right. What else do we've got? Now it's time for the last segment of the show. Time to wrap it up with some viewer questions that you guys have been leaving in the chat. So let me go ahead and acknowledge you guys. Miguel saying good morning. Hey. Pat wanted me this week. Let's go. Talking about Pat Freiermuth. Yeah, dude. That guy's legit. He's good. Congratulations on your victory. Ricardo, drop Marvin Jones for Tim Patrick. No. I think Tim Patrick's targets, number 1, not sustainable. Number 2, Noah Fant is going to be coming back. He was without Noah Fant in that game. The Denver Broncos were. No, I think over Marvin Jones. Like, Tim Patrick might be an ad, but over Marvin Jones, nah. I mean, Jones could still develop into the number 1 receiver in Jacksonville. We still don't know who that guy is. Agnew, Jones, Chenault, we don't know, but it could be Jones. So don't do that. Rob Dale saying, aloha, y'all. Yeah, Fryer got me the dub. Listen, dude, Freiermuth. He's on a roll. 2 touchdowns in that game. Kyle Singer, yo, how you doing, man? And Savvy, pick up 1. Gallup, Ayuk, Bateman, or Elijah Moore. Pick up 1. Is that a question? I'm just kidding. Out of those guys, I'd honestly pick up Ayuk. John Kelly, Gaskin or Gibson in the flex half PPR. I have not looked at the starts and sits yet, so I don't know the matchups, so I can't tell you. Come back tomorrow and I can give you a better answer of that. Should I trade Zeke, Pollard, Gallup for Dalvin Cook? My team is Najee, Hines, Jonathan Taylor, Hines, Justin Jefferson, Keenan Allen, Robert Woods. Yeah. I don't know. Do you play in an 8-team league, 6-team league? Man, uh, yeah, I would do that. Honestly, Dalvin Cook is kind of a buy low candidate right now. Sebastian, Wentz over Tannehill rest of the season. Yeah, yeah, I like Wentz. Ryan Tannehill's value once King Henry went down, not so good. So Wentz, I like him. I dropped Booker's bye week. Don't have Barkley and stay with Wilson and Herbert. I don't have Montgomery, and he looks good. Yesterday, he's backfield. Oh, Miguel, hold on. Should I drop Herbert and pick up another? Or talking about Khalil Herbert. Okay, I got you. Don't have Montgomery. Okay. So yeah, Montgomery looks like he's a 3-down back. Uh, just from that opening drive, I could tell you, yeah, and they use wildcat packages with Montgomery, which was surprising. So I'm gonna go with drop Herbert and pick up another running back. If you can trade Khalil Herbert to the guy that has a David Montgomery, I would do that. Like, hey, you need David Montgomery. You saw that he sprained his knee, and you thought you had a backup in Damian Williams, but it was actually Khalil Herbert. So you want Khalil Herbert as your handcuff. Let me trade you Khalil Herbert for another running back. I would try to trade him first, but if you can't, then yeah, I would drop Khalil Herbert. Also, you have Tony. Should I drop him and pick up another wide receiver from the wire? I like Tony, man. I really do. I think it's going to turn around eventually. If Ayuk or Gallup is available, or Bateman, then sure. But if not, then no. I'd keep him. Um, skipping around a little bit. Let me see. Rob Dale, Ayuk, Gallup, Tim Patrick, OBJ, Russell Gage. I can only roster 2 for the rest of the season. Who's OBJ going to sign with? We don't know. I would hold on to OBJ right now if you can, and then the other one would be Ayuk. But if OBJ doesn't sign with like anyone, or I don't know, no, I would keep Odell. Keep Odell and Ayuk. Those are the players that I would keep. Dan is Q. Who do I start, Hawkinson or Freiermuth? I have not had a chance to look at the matchups just yet, so I can't tell you like off the top of my head. I haven't done the research yet, so I can't. Even though I know that like they play each other, like the Steelers play the Lions, I can't tell you because I haven't looked at the numbers or anything. I can tell you that Hawkinson would be the player that I would favor because he's had the most targets the last 2 weeks out of any tight end. But Freiermuth has been looking good. But I would go with Hawkinson. Christian, would you drop Mike Davis to Ernest for Howard, Freeman, or Collins? I dropped Mike Davis, yeah. Mike Davis for if you need temporary players right now, it would be Mike Davis for Jordan Howard and Devontae Freeman. Now, would I drop Dearness? No, not for Devontae Freeman. But I would drop Mike Davis for Jordan Howard or Devontae Freeman. I think both of them are going to start this week. So Howard would be the guy that I'd lean in towards. Would you change Tannehill for Teddy Bridgewater? Talking about starting, I would keep Tannehill. If you're talking about rest of the season, like on your roster, I would keep Tannehill over Teddy Bridgewater. But if you talk about starting, like again, I haven't had a chance to look at the matchup, so I can't give you that analysis just yet. Antoine got Josh Allen and Russ Wilson. Need another running back one to pair with Najee. Which quarterback would you package up and sell, and for which RB1? Okay, so I talked about Antonia Gibson being a buy low. He's not going to be an RB1, but has a potential to be an RB2. I'm hoping. I'm just, like, this is me just praying that he got the rest that he needed for that shin. They can reset during the bye week. Ron Rivera's like, listen, why aren't we winning football games? Oh, the most talented player, we're not giving him the ball. So I'm hoping that happens. So Antonia Gibson would be a player that I would try to get rid of. And listen, I would be okay trading either one of those players. I mean, I would lean in towards trading Russell Wilson. I think Josh Allen has more value than Russell Wilson. But if you do Russell Wilson for Antonio Gibson, I mean, I see what happens. Because you can't do Russell Wilson for, like, Alvin Kamara. Like, you can't, if you're expecting an RB1, like, they're not going to do that. But for Antonio Gibson, like, someone's frustrated and they need a quarterback, They want to get rid of Antonia Gibson, have nothing to do with them. Sure. Like, Russell Wilson for Antonia Gibson would be a trade that I would make. Marcus, great content. Keep up the good work. Hey, Marcus, I appreciate you tuning in. Drew Vano, should I pick up Brandon Ayuk, Rashad Bateman, or Hunter Renfrow PPR? Out of all those, if Hunter Renfrow is still available, yeah, Hunter Renfrow is a guy that you need to pick up. Derek Carr's favorite target. Dare I even say over Darren Waller this year? No, it's still Darren Waller, but Hunter Renfrow is getting the targets. Marvin Amador, good morning, G. Good morning, sir. Thanks for your answer, Hassan. You rock. No, you rock. Thanks for tuning in all the time. Rob Dale, bigs ups and appreciation to you in the show. Always, bro. Let's kill it as always this week. Yes, sir. And a bunch of emojis. Thank you. And Antoine saying, thanks, boss man. So that's the last comment that I got. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the show. But appreciate you guys tuning in to this episode of Time to Football. Again, if you haven't had a chance to watch those fantasy football ads and drops video, go ahead back and to our channel and watch that. And Starts and Sits is going to be coming out sometime tomorrow morning as well. So be on the lookout for that. I'm going to split up the trade targets video, put that out later today. So watch out for that. Hey, thank you guys so much for tuning in. And in case you didn't tune in at the beginning of the show, daylight savings time. Better Roethlisberger.